New Orleans Saints move on from running back Jamaal Williams. Was it the right move for the Saints, ladies and gentlemen? The backdrop is the Hunt Palmer show. Now, when I loaded up YouTube and I was searching around and I was like, what should I watch? What should I react to, ladies and gentlemen? This really caught my eye. 2 reasons. 1, 6 minutes long. Shocking, because this question and answer should be about 3 seconds long. It should be, New Orleans Saints move on from running back Jamaal Williams. Right move for Saints? Yes. End of video. Second, right move for Saints. The fact that this is even a question, I have to hear the other side of this. I have to hear why possibly cutting Jamaal Williams could be the wrong move. I mean, the question, when I see it, it's such a simple question. It actually kind of confounds my brain. It's almost like making sandwich dash peanut butter jelly good? It's like, yes, obviously it's good. Everyone knows it's a good combo. Yes, lather that thing up. So I want to give the Hunt Man his opportunity to make a case. Ladies and gentlemen, before I get into that video, real quick, the gaming channel has been absolutely popping off. If you're not familiar with it, go check it out. I know we get tons of new subscribers and viewers every day. So we wrapped up the Call of Duty playthrough in its entirety is on there. The GoldenEye playthrough / replay in its entirety is on there. Let's go. Oh my God, that guy was sneaky. Go, get up. Can they shoot me on the thing? God, I hope not. Get up. Get up. No! Next week, we will begin the next game. So make sure you are going over there. Also, the wrestling channel has been popping off recently. We've been really focusing on the wrestling channel, or we will be focusing on it because WrestleMania is in New Orleans this year. So we've been doing videos over there, multiple videos a week. I want to get it to I want to get it to a daily universe, but also sneak peek beginning this upcoming Monday. I will start something I'm very, very, very looking forward to, which is a full rewatch of every WCW show, starting with the very first Nitro. I've done this a few times, but certainly never to the platform we have now. So I've never finished it, but we've started it. I wanted to do it, and we're going to do it again, and we're going to do it proper. So get on over to the wrestling channel. Okay, enough of that. Let's go ahead and listen.
Saints made a move on Tuesday. They released running back Jamaal Williams, who had 1 year left on his deal. It'll save him just north of $1 million against the salary cap next season. Look, this is a situation where the Saints bought high.
This is a situation where the player was ass. All right. Now, this is a unique situation because you're going to go through multiple coordinators and multiple coaching staffs and multiple teams, and it looks weird, and you wonder like what's the decision making, what's going on here. So what I said back then was this is a bad move because we already have Jamaal Williams. So Jamaal Williams rushed for 17 touchdowns in 2022, led the NFL. And he was brought over to be that kind of goal line, short yard, power back that would complement Alvin Kamara. And the idea is you're trying to replicate the Mark Ingram Kamara dynamic. What I said back then rings true now is that we already had that in Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill, I think, at times was the best short yardage back in the NFL, not just for the Saints, but in the NFL. 4th and 1, 3rd and 1, 4th and inches, whatever. A Taysom Hill power is about as good as it gets on the efficiency number. So the question would be, at the time of the signing, was Taysom, because you got to remember, like Taysom kind of fell into this weird world with Carmichael where he wasn't really utilized at all. Like he was just kind of nothing. And he was not doing anything near what he did with Peyton, but Peyton also used him in a weird way too. Kubiak kind of had this like resurgence with Taysom Hill. You could argue that Taysom Hill was utilized the best with Clint Kubiak. So, and Clint Kubiak had nothing to do with this Jamaal Williams signing. So it's an example of how, different ideas and different visions. Like, was Dennis Allen's plan to move away from Taysom? Did he see Taysom being featured more as a tight end, less of a runner, or more of a quarterback, less of a runner, whatever? And so they were trying to have more of a true running back. All right. So that's what I think happened. And he wasn't needed. It just was not needed. And most of the time he was the worst option. And a lot of the times he absolutely killed the drives. I mean, in his entire tenure with the Saints, which was 2 years, he had 2 touchdowns, one of which was a gift from Jameis Winston, literally a gift that kind of tanked Jameis Winston's career. So Jameis gives him did I say Jameis Williams? Jameis Winston. A lot of J's and W's there. I feel like I'm at a hotel chain. But, I mean, I was sitting in the sidelines. I was sitting in the stands, and I had 0 touchdowns. He only had 2. So the fact that Jamaal Williams was getting paid $10 million a year to have 1 more touchdown than I did each season is shocking.
To buy low and sell high, they bought high. They bought Jamaal Williams on the heels of an 1,000-yard rushing season that included 17 rushing touchdowns that led the NFL. And the Saints,
by the way, 1,000 yards with 17 game schedules, like 1,000 yards is not that big of a deal. Something to think about in the future. I see this all the time with like Najee Harris, where it's like, oh, he had 1,000 yards. He had, he's now on a blank streak of 1,000 yards. It's like, if you are a starting running back in the NFL, it's almost impossible not to get 1,000 yards.
Saw that in Detroit, looked at their running back situation, said, we probably need to help Alvin out a little bit, moving on from the Ingram era. Let's go get Jamaal Williams. And so they get a guy that had rushed for 1,000 yards and 17 touchdowns, and over the course of 2 seasons, he ran for 470 yards and 2 touchdowns in 2 seasons.
Shocking.
And you look at Jamaal Williams' career, and the Saints did not get an outlier. The Saints...
Yeah, I mean, if you look at his career, and you look at... this is about what you would expect. Like, if he's averaging 3.4 yards a carry his last year. He averaged 4.1 his career year with the Lions, where he only, again, this was like full workload, right? 262 attempts. He only averaged 4 yards a carry in Detroit. These 17 touchdowns, I would guess, I haven't looked this up, someone can check it out. I would assume, I'll go crazy here. I'll say 15 of the 17 are from 10 yards or less. Like, they're all goal line carry touchdowns, whatever. But the 4.1 yards a carry, that's pretty much what he is his whole career. And that's pretty much what he was for the Saints. Was just kind of a nothing burger back. I mean, the longest carry, his longest reception. His longest carry for the Saints was 14 yards last year and 17 yards his first year. That's wild, And the year he had 2.9 yards a carry, that was a bad year across the board for the Saints. I mean, that was Alvin's worst rushing year, average-wise, as well. The offensive line was horrible.
It's got what it has always been. I'll go through Jamaal Williams' early NFL career. He started with Green Bay. Here are his rushing touchdowns per season. 4, 3, 1, 2, 3. Got it? 4, 3, 1, 2, 3. Then he comes to New Orleans. 1, 1. I skipped over the 17. So if you're going to do it in order for his entire career, 4, 3, 1, 2, 3, 17, 1, 1. Then you look at yardage. 556, 464, 460, 505, 601. He's always right there for 5 years between 460 and 601. That's 150 yards. He's always right there. And for the Saints, 306 and 164. Like a dip at the end, but then you've got the outlier, 1,066 yards. The Saints bought high on a guy that was playing running back at 27 years old And over the course of 2 seasons, it just did not work at all. The only contribution Jamaal Williams actually made to the Saints was scoring that touchdown against Atlanta, creating the storm that happened with the players and the apology by Dennis Allen, and they didn't like that. And maybe that forced a wedge into the clubhouse and got Dennis Allen out of town.
I think something else, too, like this can be an example of, we always talk about context, and we always talk about where if you just look at the results, if you just look at the blanket number, touchdowns, interceptions, whatever, like if you don't have the context, they can be very misleading. If you look at Jamaal Williams' 17 touchdowns, it's like, okay, that's a lot, right? Like that's pretty sporty. But then if you dig into them, and again, I'm just guessing, I don't know what the actual number is, but if 14 of them are from 3 yards and in, it's like he was just chosen to do that. Like Taysom Hill in that exact same situation, Taysom could have had 17 rushing touchdowns, right? Does that make Taysom, does that make him a better running back that he was chosen in those scenarios? Now, you could argue, well, he did get it over the goal line, but again, how many chances is he getting? How many times does he get stuffed? This is an example of where the really shallow stats, and I always say the ESPN.com stats because they only show you 5 different stats. But when you look at the 17 touchdowns and you look at the 1,000 yards and you look at the carries, you shouldn't say, man, that's a hell of a year. You should say, why didn't he have more yards? Something's not adding up here. And then you see he rushed for 4 yards a carry. And it's like, well, that doesn't seem right. That seems kind of low. Then you could power rate the Lions offensive line that year, how well they played. Then you kind of blend some stuff. You can start deducing that, oh, well, actually, he kind of got lucky with these touchdowns. So this is an example of why it's so important to provide that context.
But outside of that, not really any production. This move is a very easy one to make. It saves you a little bit of cash, not a lot. But
brother, it could have sold you, it could have sold you half of a po' boy from Nola Po' Boys, which I just had a fried oyster. My God. Nola Po' Boys on Bourbon Street. I always say, honestly, probably my favorite po' boy in New Orleans. It's on Bourbon Street, so people think it's a tourist trap. It ain't. All right, some of the best fried, their seasoning that comes spicy. Whoo, baby, that thing is good. Just had a fried oyster po' boy from there. Super Bowl week. Yeah, whoo, man, it was good. Absolutely delicious. Absolutely 10 out of 10. But if we would just got one of those, cut them. Whatever, who cares? This was a non-issue, no-brainer. Cut them, save whatever you can save, get him out of the building.
He's a 30-year-old running back. You just signed Kamara to a 2-year deal. Kendre Miller is still here. Who knows if he can play or not? And you've probably got to dip into the draft or undrafted free agency and find somebody else that can help. The Saints, over the course of their time, have done a good job at identifying some guys who weren't household names who became really solid backs. None more than Pierre Thomas. Of course, you're all aware of him. But Chris Ivory wasn't a guy that was high on everybody's boards, and the Saints brought him in as a solid reserve who gave them steady and dependable carries for multiple seasons.
Well, I think, too, what you saw last year with Kamara was that, because I think up until last year, you were probably concerned, are we on the wrong end of this? Are we on the wrong end of Kamara's career? Can he be the featured back? Can he be the engine to this offense? Or does he need to be splitting time with somebody? But after last year, I think you feel pretty good about him being the featured back. I think you feel pretty good about him kind of being the engine to your offense. And something else I wanted to talk about in this video is the idea that I've been seeing all over the place of the Saints trading for and signing literally every player that becomes available. Guys, I know it's fun, but we got to reel it in. All right? If you want the Saints to sign Joey Bosa, Devontae Adams, trade for Trey Hendrickson, trade for Christian Kirk, who else are they signing? They've signed literally every player, I think, in the NFL. If you want them to go do that, load up Madden. Remember what we are doing. We are trimming the monies. All right, we are saving money wherever we can. We are releasing and or cutting and or working a trade out or whatever with our aging players. We ain't trading for and paying Trey Hendrickson. We ain't trading for and paying Christian Kirk. We ain't signing Joey Bosa. All right? What are we doing here? Ladies and gentlemen, reel it in. If I've got to open my Twitter timeline and see on the timeline Joey Bosa released, and then the next 7 tweets are tweets of Saints ? And then a picture of Joey Bosa in a Saints uniform, and then another tweet of why the Saints should trade for Joey Bosa. Guys, come on. I know it's the offseason, but Jesus. God. Reel it in, ladies and gentlemen.
And they got to find another one of those. You hope Kendre Miller emerges as a real breakout guy. I don't have a lot of optimism in that. You hope Alvin Kamara can maintain a solid level of play as the tread on the tire starts to wear off a little bit, and he's taking a lot of shots at an old age for a running back, but you got him on under contract for 2 more years. You got to go get another one, and that's easy to do. Running backs.
I think you just go draft one. I think this is the year you draft one. Like, I've got no... we've talked about this before on the channel, but like Kellen Moore has absolutely no ties to Kendre Miller. Didn't draft him. Kendre Miller couldn't figure out the playbook or whatever the issue was at the end of last year. Didn't really play. Played sparingly. Has been injured. Like, if Kellen Moore sees a running back he likes in the 3rd round, he's going to take him. And Kendre Miller's going to be out the door. Like, you gotta change your thinking. You gotta change your thinking from how do we get these D- players up to a B level? How do we develop them? How much do we have to put into them and develop them? How can we get these guys ready to roll? Forget that. Draft better players, sign players, whatever the future holds. But if you told me like who's going to be the second best running back for the Saints besides Kamara in the next couple of years, I would say he's not on the roster yet. I would say talk to me in the draft. Talk to me after the draft. I mean, Ashton Genty certainly could be picked. Judkins certainly could be picked. There's a ton of running backs in this draft. And I would not be surprised at all if the Saints took one. And it's Kamara and that running back moving forward. And then, Kendre Miller, whoever can battle for a practice squad spot or battle for a 3rd running back spot or whatever. But, we got to... Everything is all systems go moving forward. Like the Tyrann Mathieu rumors of he may be cut, the releasing Jamaal Williams, the Derek Carr restructure that's coming, the Cam Jordan, whatever those rumors are going to be, like that is where we're at right now. We are restructuring, we are renovating, we are getting new players, we are getting a whole new identity in here, a whole new thing, and that doesn't jive with signing Devontae Adams. That doesn't jive with bringing in Christian Kirk or whoever else. Okay? Doesn't jive with signing Joey Bosa. Okay, so we got to remember what we're doing and push forward.
Sir, or a dime a dozen. You can find a lot of 6'1", 225-pound dudes who know how to carry the football. You can't find Saquon Barkley on any tree. You can't find Christian McCaffrey just anywhere. Derrick Henry is not plentiful, but you can find reserve running backs that can help. And if they're a little bit cheaper than Jamaal Williams, so be it. But this is a situation where this was not a misguided sign. It was not a terrible investment. It just didn't work. You thought that once he got a chance in Detroit, he had matured physically and was a pro in the league. He runs for 1,000 yards. The Lions decide now we're going to go with the guys we got who are, by the way, pretty damn talented.
I would say, I'm just guessing here, but I would guess this is more about how the coaching staff viewed Taysom than anything. Because looking back, like, how can you not realize that you have what Jamaal Williams wants to do in Taysom? And we said that for the last 2 years of those are wasted carries. I probably have 30 different clips of me saying every carry for Jamaal Williams is a wasted carry. I've said it about Kendre Miller at times, where it's like, look, there's only so many plays in a game. why are we forcing 8 carries to Jamaal Williams or 8 carries to Kendra Miller or 8 carries to Jordan Mims or whatever? Give the ball to Alvin or give the ball to Taysom. That's it. Like that, you don't really need to do much else. You use those 2 guys. Now, obviously, it's a little different now that Taysom's hurt, but there was a lot for a team that struggled so much with time of possession as the Saints did last year, and we had about half the plays of the teams that we were playing. We were not afraid to waste one on a 2-yard carry from Jordan Mims or Jamaal Williams or Kendra Miller or whoever. So I don't know what the plan was for Jamaal originally. I don't know what the plan for Taysom was originally, but I think the Saints would be better off trimming the running back room and making sure that when you call a play, when you call it proactively, call it with intention and with reason.
And the Saints brought in Jamaal Williams, and it just flat did not work at all. So this was an obvious move. They've got to add somewhere at running back, but you don't lose anything here with this. They've got to do a lot more in terms of getting the salary cap to be compliant. This is a small step in the right direction, but really, hopefully,
the Derek Carr restructure is going to solve pretty much all of that.
Opening the door, best case scenario, for a young signee that you bring in, whether that's late in the draft or in the undrafted free agent process, that comes in, turns some heads in camp, and can play for you for 3, 4, 5 years on a really cheap deal. Jamaal Williams can't do that. Can't play on a really cheap deal and can't play 3 or 4 more years. He's 30. So
I mean, I think this really opens up the draft. I really do. Like when I heard this news, obviously it was like, okay, of course. But when you're going into a draft, like here's the algorithm, right? We basically have one running back on the roster, Alvin, who's on a 2-year deal. The running back draft, this is a very plentiful running back draft. That algorithm to me screams, if blank guy is there, we're drafting him. If whoever is at the top of your boards, name your running back. If he's there, we're drafting him. And think about how different, and this is kind of what I was talking about with looking toward the future. Like, think about right now, we're hearing about, well, I saw some stuff in Jordan Mims, or I saw something in Kendra Miller, or I did whatever. If they turn in that draft cue card at 9 and it's Ashton Genty, think about how different the future of the Saints, just the conversations are. All of a sudden, it's like, well, now we are a running team. We are Alvin and Genty. It's how good can Genty be if he is the next Saquon or the next Christian McCaffrey or the next Todd Gurley or the next Alvin Kamara or whatever? Like, how is that going to look moving forward? And it changes the dynamic of the entire offense. And the last person we're going to be talking about is Kendra Miller and Jordan Mims. Okay? And what other name you want to throw out there? So this draft, I think, is going to be the most impactful, the most franchise-defining draft in a long, long time. Because while we're restructuring and moving around and renovating this roster, there's going to be a lot of holes. And when you're trying to fill those holes with cheap contracts, and you're also trying to get younger, that screams the draft. So just like wide receiver. If the Saints are out there saying, we need wide receiver help, then they have to be looking at this draft room of not who's a good developmental player, not who could be good down the road, not who's got, he can do this, but he also is good in special teams. No, who is the guy who's ready to play now? Who is the guy who's going to come in right now and make an impact in his first year? And you can say that across the board at every position. You want to fill tight end, you want to fill wide receiver, you want to fill running back, you want to fill cornerback, you want to fill edge rusher, whatever. It's got to be studs. And if Kellen Moore and company nail this draft, you could be looking at the next big time names in New Orleans Saints lore.
This is a situation where Jamaal Williams isn't bringing a lot to the locker room. He's not bringing you anything in terms of production. No, he's not saving you a ton of money, but it's easy to move on from and try to open that slot for a younger, less expensive player that may be able to help you for a longer time. I don't see that as the case with with Tyrann Mathieu. I think he does bring some benefits. One, he actually starts, and two, he's a great locker
big time locker room guy. Yeah, I mean, a totally different situation.
Room guy. If you had two guys waiting in the wings there that were cheap that you wanted to get a look at, maybe I could see that with Tyrann Mathieu. But earlier in the week, I told you I wouldn't do that. This was obvious. You need to get rid of Jamaal Williams and move forward.
Here.
The Saints have done that, so now they'll be in the market for another running back or two here in the coming months. Hey, it's on. Thanks.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, there you go. Get on down in the comments below. Say your goodbyes to Jamaal Williams. But also, guys, come on, be better. All right, be better. Enough of the trade talk, signs, re-signs, free agent. It's in Madden. It's in the fantasy draft. Wake up, Peter Pan. Okay? Be better out there, ladies and gentlemen. All right. Get on down in the comments below. Gaming channel, wrestling channel. Back to your regularly scheduled program here. I know during Mardi Gras we were doing one video a day somewhere in there. But we're going to get back to 2-a-days. Sometimes 3, sometimes 4. Who even knows? All right. Peace.